Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is post-match reaction showtime. The morning after Liverpool lifted the European Super Cup in Istanbul after beating Chelsea 5-4 on penalties after a 1-1 draw in normal time and a 2-2 draw in extra time. Adrian has become an instant hero for Liverpool. I think that will do his confidence the world of good. It's been an interesting start to his Liverpool career. He's only been here, I think, 9 days as of last night, 10 days as of today, and already, he's had his debut, he's had his first start, and he's become the hero to lift the first trophy of his career as well. The guy's 32 years old. That's the first time he's ever got his hands on a piece of silverware, and he's done it through being the hero, through being the man who delivered the trophy for Liverpool, and that is just an absolutely fantastic story, and I'll do more about that stage of the game later on, but I am going to do the usual thing of going through the match chronologically from the start all the way through to the end, because that kind of makes sense. If you're going to analyse a match, that's the most sensible way to do so. So kicking things off with the first half, it wasn't the best performance from Liverpool. It did feel a little bit like the Charity Shield, where we saved our better football for later on in the game, and there were actually quite a few moments in the first half where not only were we letting the opposition, this time Chelsea, have chances, but they actually looked like the better side. They had more control of the game, certainly in terms of like possession and what both teams were doing with the ball. We were kind of equal, but when it came to actually delivering in the final third and creating clear-cut chances and threatening the goal, Chelsea were just, head and shoulders above Liverpool in that first 45 minutes. I think it's fair to say our system just was not working going forward. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain, I'm never really one to judge him when he's playing in that advanced position, because I think he's more used there as a utility player, just because we know he's played there in the past and he's got quite a few attributes that should, in theory, make him a useful player there. I think at Liverpool, and anywhere to be honest, his best position is without a doubt in the centre of midfield, playing as the most advanced member of the three and linking up with the attack from the centre. So when that lineup got announced, I was actually hoping it would be more of a 4-4-2. I was thinking that would make sense, obviously, with Gomez at right back as well. The midfielders would be able to stretch out a bit wider and cover for the kind of the attacking play that would be lost with the fact that Trent Alexander-Arnold wasn't playing down the right. But also, I wanted to see us with like Mane and Salah up front, but then drifting wide, and then Ox operating in the hole, because I think he would be so effective for Liverpool in that position. That's where he's actually been at his best. He creates chances from charging from deep and then getting to like just around the D outside the penalty box and then playing balls through for Mane, Salah and Firmino. So I was a little bit disappointed with the way we set up in the first half, but I think, needs must, and there's obviously a fitness reason for that. That it's clear, especially once Firmino came on, that the reason he wasn't playing from the start had nothing to do with his quality, because he was absolutely fantastic when he came on and has been since he returned after the summer break. So, our attacking system just wasn't really working. I think we maybe, with Ox playing in that front three, we could maybe have done with like a Naby Keita in midfield, but obviously the situation dictated we couldn't do that because of the injury. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get some positive updates about that in the near future. But yeah, going forward, we just weren't clicking in the way Liverpool have clicked so far this season. And then defensively, we were just getting caught out far too many times on the break, and I think you can maybe say that the high line is justified, because twice Chelsea got in and scored and it was ruled out for offside because we were playing that high defensive line. And I think there's clearly been some sort of shift in the way we want to defend that's brought about by the introduction of VAR, that's been brought about by the fact that you can play a high line and you don't have to worry about the attacker maybe sometimes being given the benefit of the doubt by the linesman, because it will always be pulled back if it's tight. And as long as you play the high line properly, as long as you time your positioning to perfection, then you shouldn't get caught out. And we were kind of vindicated in that with the amount of times Chelsea got in behind and it was pulled back for offside. But obviously, if we're playing this as a new system, if it's something that the players are learning for this season, it's kind of understandable that it's not going to work brilliantly from the off. It's understandable that there's going to be a few teething problems here and there, and that maybe explains why Liverpool have allowed so many through balls to get through. I think it was something like 13 or 14 through balls have got through our defence in the last 3 games. The Charity Shield, Norwich, and this one, pardon me, against Chelsea. And then we've faced something like 40 shots over the last 3 games, which, when put into perspective, is more shots than we faced in the Champions League final and the 2 games we played against City last season combined. So, there are worrying stats there. And like I said, worrying signs in that first half where it felt like Chelsea were the better team going forward. But hopefully it's just teething problems, and hopefully, lesser teams like Southampton, fingers crossed for the weekend, won't be able to expose it as much. And, hopefully at the other end, our attack can carry on being the business. So I'm not going to say straight away that we should completely ditch that idea, because it's clear that it has its merits. But I think if we carry on using it and we get to about September, October time, and it's still causing serious problems, then maybe we need a plan B for these types of situations where we are going to play teams who are going to create so many chances if we continue to play that high line and it continues to look as slightly vulnerable as it does at the moment. So yeah, that was the first half. Obviously wasn't perfect. We conceded the goal, which was disappointing. I think as soon as we saw Olivier Giroud was starting, everyone knew he was probably going to put the ball in the back of the net at some point, because he loves to do that against Liverpool. And also, as I said in my pre-match video, the one thing Chelsea were missing at the weekend was cutting edge. So bring in Giroud, a proper finisher. That's probably his best trait. Was clearly going to have some sort of effect on the amount of goals they scored in the game. So yeah, a disappointing first half. We obviously then bring on Roberto Firmino and are vindicated within about 2.5 minutes, because he plays that brilliant assist to Sadio Mane. At the time I thought it was just a scramble where everyone's just trying to get any sort of toe on the ball, create any sort of advantage. Just Liverpool are trying to push the ball nearer the goal, Chelsea are trying to push it away, and eventually it bounces around and around and around, and suddenly Sadio Mane's got a tap in from 1 yard out with an open net. But it turns out, when you look back at it, Firmino plans that to perfection. The way he jumps, he then looks for Mane, he gets his foot up, you can't really see it here, I don't know why I'm even trying, but he gets his foot up and he dinks it off to Mane. He waits the pass perfectly. In that kind of situation, that is just the mark of a phenomenal footballer. And I think because we talk so much about Firmino's football brain, his movement, his energy, his pressing and stuff like that, we forget he's got those Brazilian skills in his locker. He is fantastic on the ball. His control is almost second to none for a player in this Liverpool side, certainly in terms of what he can do, a standstill of what he can do when he's like facing up a player, when he can pass it, he can flick it. He's such a talented footballer. He's got so many things going for him, and he showed that last night, because we were just a completely different team. It wasn't just having Firmino on the pitch, it was the way it changed the way Mane could play, the way it changed the way Mo Salah could play, the way it created a bit of an extra link between the midfield and the attack. We just looked like a different side, and it was kind of like the Charity Shield, in that we just suddenly not dominated the second half. I think it wasn't quite the levels of that game against City, because Chelsea still had their opportunities. Mason Mount obviously puts the ball in the back of the net before it's pulled back for offside. So I wouldn't say we blitzed them, but I would certainly say we evened it out after what was obviously a pretty poor first half for Liverpool. So, I mean, Firmino was probably my man of the match again. Sets up that goal, sets up the goal for Mane in extra time as well. Completely changed the game, and has just started the season like an absolute house on fire. I love the guy. So obviously the game then goes to extra time, which is what absolutely no one wants. I mean, I don't know what Chelsea's schedule for the weekend is, but we're playing away from home on the south coast at 3 on Saturday afternoon. And I am not overly thrilled with the fact that less than 72 hours before that game, we will have played a full 2 hours of football in Istanbul, in, the heat and the humidity of Istanbul as well. So obviously it's not ideal that the game goes to that, but I was starting to feel like, we were establishing more of a foothold. Chelsea looked like they were starting to lose their way, fitness-wise as well as just tactically as well. I think that's something Lampard hasn't quite got used to as well, in terms of how to alter the game once it starts. We saw it against Man United as well, where they started reasonably well, but once things went wrong, he didn't really know how to solve the issues that were out on the pitch. I thought something similar was going to happen in extra time, and it kind of did. The Sadio Mane goal, the second goal that he scores, is absolutely fantastic. The cutback from Firmino through the legs of, I think it's Emerson, the Chelsea defender, back to Mane, who just opens his body up, and that finish, I mean, it's just phenomenal. The guy is brilliant. It's just, we almost forget that every single member of our front three is world class. If you saw Ronaldo do that, if you saw Messi do that, you'd be like, only they can do that. They are one of the few players on the planet capable of pulling off a finish like that. And Sadio Mane is doing it in a Liverpool shirt, and he's not even the only guy in our squad who can score goals like that. It was just a fantastic strike. Everything about the technique was superb, and the fact he even tries it in the first place. Most players will try and put their boot through that and put it into the near post, or try and open their body up and curl it into the far post. He goes for both. He goes for power, placement, open the body up, top corner, in off the bar. It's just sublime, and to have players who can do that for us is just out of this world. It's a goal befitting of a European final, I guess we can call this. It was just brilliant. And then obviously the penalty happens, Chelsea equalise again. I mean, I can see reasons why it was given, and can see reasons why it wasn't. I mean, it's incredibly reckless from Adrian, I guess, to come out even though he doesn't get to the ball. But when you look at what Abraham does, when he gets to the ball, he's not controlling it. He just sticks a leg out so he knows he can get there before the goalkeeper. And even though by sticking that leg out, he's just booting it out of play, he still manages to draw the contact from Adrian and make it look like a foul. But if we're being honest, if Adrian doesn't make any contact, and I think he barely even does, it's the most minimal amount of contact between players I think you can get away with for a penalty, and Abraham really does milk it. But on the flip side, if the referee, if I don't blame Abraham, because the referee can quite easily say that's not enough contact for a penalty, so get up, we're moving on. But like, if he doesn't go down, there's nothing he's going to be able to do because the ball's already gone out before he's even hit the deck. So that's the kind of thing where I feel like the rule should be changed. I feel like you should factor in the idea of what would actually happen, and whether the foul was drawn simply by the player making an unnatural movement like kicking the ball out of play just to draw contact and get there before the player that's trying to tackle them. So it's like I said, you can say it's reckless from Adrian. Then there's the whole VAR debate. Is it a clear and obvious error, or are you just putting that down to the referee's judgment? I'd say it wasn't a clear and obvious error, if that makes sense. I think, pardon me, the fact that some people are going to say it's obvious, that's a mistake. Other people are going to say, well, maybe that's just how the referee wants to play the game. Maybe, in their opinion, that is a foul and they don't need to watch it again and stuff like that. She obviously had a fantastic view as well, so it kind of begs the question of why make her watch a replay if she's already seen it from probably the best possible angle, probably a better angle than any of the TV cameras actually got. So, there's plenty of debate around it, and ultimately, it's all academic because Liverpool win the big shiny thing at the end of the day. But I think maybe there does need to be a look at that whole issue of just players doing things like booting the ball out of play just to get there first before they're taken down. So I'm not going to have a go at Adrian because I don't think he's necessarily done anything wrong. He's well within his rights to come for the ball. He makes a good save in similar circumstances earlier on from Kovacic where, he comes out, he gets to the ball and he pushes it away. There, he actually takes down Kovacic as well, but because he gets the ball, the referees let him get away with it. So, I'm not going to criticise him. He also makes a good save after that as well. A lot of people said that's the kind of save where Alisson Becker just kind of shifts to his right, catches it, and then lobs it, and we're on the counter again. And you're like, yeah, standard save for Alisson, but you don't realise other goalies aren't capable of that. And Adrian, it's not amazing. He's not world-class like Alisson. He never was going to be, but he's not rubbish either. He's just fine, and, he's probably not going to let us down too many times in terms of ridiculous errors or anything like that. But on the flip side, he's probably not going to pull off many world-class saves or start counter-attacks all by himself either. He's just going to do a job for Liverpool, and my word, did he do the job in the penalty shootout, and I think there's a lot to be said for how important it is that every single one of Liverpool's takers scored in that shootout, because there's a general consensus that we don't have many good penalty takers in our squad, partially because, when Milner wasn't playing much in the 17-18 season and we were looking for a backup penalty taker, it didn't really work out for Firmino. He missed like one or two or something like that. Salah also missed one at one point, and I think we've got it into our heads that Salah's a bad penalty taker. I think it is just because, he doesn't blam them into the corners, and he doesn't often score penalties that you say if the goalie went the right way or they saw where he was going with that and he telegraphed it, then they would have saved it. But he's scored his last 7 now, and they've been in high pressure situations. I'm counting shootouts as well, but like the Champions League final, the Charity Shield shootout, his was a pressure pen as well, and then that was a pressure pen in the Super Cup, and he finished all of them. He's got a smart little run up where he kind of bends round and then runs up while still bending the run, doesn't show his body shape, doesn't telegraph where he's going early on, and that's probably why he doesn't need to hit it right into the corners, because most of the time he actually fools the goalie and sends them the wrong way anyway. So, but I think all the other penalty takers as well, maybe you can say Arrizabalaga gets there and a slightly better goalie who's got stronger wrists or can get down quicker saves them. But also, then you've got to look at it and say, well, if we're going to argue this whole thing about Salah and, putting it in the corners and not getting it so far that the goalie wouldn't have saved it if they'd gone the right way. The goalie went the right way for a lot of our takers, and they still all went in. So a lot of positive signs there, the fact that all of them were able to take it, because if we want to be winning silverware, we're going to have to get to a lot of finals. And if you want to win finals, quite a lot of the time, you've got to go down to penalty shootouts, and it's an incredible kick in the teeth if you do all the hard work and then it doesn't go your way on penalties. So to have enough players in the squad who are confident taking them, who've now done it in multiple situations as well, who've dealt with that pressure multiple times, is obviously a huge bonus to Liverpool. And then, of course, Adrian makes himself the winner. It's a good save. There's been loads of mumbo jumbo on social media this morning about coming off his line and stuff like that, and whether or not VAR should have ruled it out. I think we established in the Women's World Cup that retaking a penalty because the VAR spotted the goalie was off the line is stupid, and we shouldn't do it because most of the time every single goalie comes off their line. They always do it. If you watch any penalty, and this has only been scrutinised because it's the only save a goalkeeper made in the shootout, but you watch any penalty, the vast majority of the time the keeper will come off their line because that's just what they do. And it's up to the referee whether they think they've come off their line so far that it's actually worth bothering and reinforcing the rule. But I mean, by this point, it was about half midnight Turkish time. I think everyone was just looking at their watch and thinking, should we just get off? And as soon as someone misses, let's just sack the whole thing off and go home. And that is exactly what happened. You know, great save from Adrian. It's smart because I think people can say, you know, it's a poor pen, it goes down the middle, but it goes right down the middle as well. And how many times have we seen goalkeepers theatrically dive to the side and then therefore let a penalty go in down the middle because it's right down the middle to the point where it just escapes their feet? But Adrian is smart enough to know that he doesn't need to commit to the dive 100% and therefore he leaves a little leg trailing. That's what saves the penalty. That's what makes him the hero. Jurgen Klopp absolutely loved it. I think he knows what that means for Adrian. He knows what that's going to do for his confidence and how important that could be for Liverpool going forward into these next few weeks where he is going to have to deputise for Alisson Becker. To have that, you know, on his shoulder, to have that feather in his cap of saying, I was the Super Cup hero for Liverpool. It was me who, you know, made the final act that helped them lift that trophy. A trophy that's now going on the wall of champions. You know, he's cemented in Liverpool folklore. Whatever you think of the European Super Cup and whatever you think of Adrian and stuff like that, the fact that there is a number on that wall that says we won a Super Cup and we won it because he saved a penalty in the shootout, you know, he's written himself into the history books, and that will only be a good thing for him going forward into the next few weeks and will hopefully improve his game no end. So yeah, fantastic that Liverpool have lifted the shiny thing. I'm going to wrap this up now because my camera's got a low battery warning on it, so forgive me if I speak a little bit fast in this outro. But yeah, great to see us win another trophy. You know, winning culture is fantastic. We get to see the Hendo trophy shuffle and lift as well that, you know, he should trademark. I want to see that every single time. I was already thinking last night about what it would be like if he does that with the Premier League trophy at Anfield, and then I had to stop myself because I was getting a little bit carried away. But yeah, great to lift a trophy. Great to just have that performance, have that victory, and hopefully we can just power through against Southampton at the weekend, and this won't have had any sort of detrimental effect on the squad either. But yeah, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. As always, if you did enjoy this video, hit that like button down there, hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back soon with the pre-match content for the game against Southampton at the weekend. Until then, bye for now.